Hi, I'm Bob Nagy, AB5N, and today I'm going to talk about the exciting new ID5100 by Icom. What an amazing radio. Now, I know a lot of you guys are out there with one hand on the mouse and the other hand on the Visa card trying to make a decision as to whether to buy one of these radios. They're not inexpensive. So today, let's take a pretty detailed look at the 5100 and see whether it's a radio worth buying. We'll look at the features that you come to have expected in a nice dual band radio. Does it have it? And then we'll look at the stuff that makes this radio unique and desirable. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is take a close-up look at the radio. As close-up as you'd be able to see it if you actually had it in your hands, to check out the build quality and exactly the way things are put together. Now this LCD screen still has the plastic cover over it that you pull off, the scratch cover that it comes with. It's fairly new, of course. This screen is large. There's the SD slot right on the front of the main radio body. And you've got your two connectors, one for microphone and one for display. This is high quality metal. Of course, there's the heatsink in the back. Data, speaker 1 and 2, your blower fan, which is adjustable, and your combined output antenna. Standard warnings and small diagram on the bottom. And the mounting holes on the back of the main display unit. Does not come with a mounting bracket. The microphone looks like all the rest of them too, and it plugs into the main body. It's sort of a modified version of the standard Mr. Potato Head mic. It does do DTMF though. So let's talk about the features that we've all come to love and expect out of good dual band radios and just knock those out, make sure that we've got them. And what I'm talking about is PL, CT, CSS, encode and decode. We've got it. DCS, the digital squelch, well, of course we've got that. It has speech announcements, which are customizable, so it's constantly talking to you if you need that. It's got 5, 15, and 50 watts out, and we'll put it on the watt meter and check it. It has cross-band repeat, which is not a feature you always find on radios, and that is a good thing. It seems to only work in the FM mode, though. I don't think you can go from DV to FM and back and forth. It has dual receive, any band, any mode, so it's pretty versatile as far as having either side of the radio active. Now DTMF, that's something we've come to expect to have, and a lot of the radios now are not letting you send it from the microphone. This one does. It has the speed dial memories, and you can directly manually input the DTMF, so that's a step backwards in the right direction. I like it. And of course it has the weather radio, and it has the automatic alert function on the weather radio. Now that's not sane, where you can customize it for your county and that kind of thing. That's when they send out the tone, the weather radio will come alive. And it has air band reception, which is, we've come to expect that it does it, and it's nice and sensitive. Now those are the features we expect, and it has. What are novel in this radio are, number one, the auto DV and FM repeater locator function using the GPS. That's really hot. It was first introduced in the ID51HT. Boy, does that thing work, because programming stuff for DV can be difficult sometimes if you're trying to, figure out the repeater and you're on the run or you're in the car. You want to be able to pop it in there. This is a feature that should have been in there a long time ago. On DV, it's great. It shows you the near repeaters, hit one button, and you're programmed, ready to rock. Now, FM, the first time it's ever been in a radio, as soon as we get a full database in this thing, it'll be able to show you the nearby repeaters. Now, further firmware revisions, I'd like to see where it auto-programs a small bank of memories. It tells you how long you've got as you're moving until you lose the repeater and suggest another repeater that you might go to. How about that, huh? Or maybe somebody out there in Droid land can figure that out and do that in an app on the Droid. That would really be excellent. It records audio. We've seen that before, but this records QSOs. It records your own voice for repetitive transmitting, and it can record just a memo if you want, note to self and all that. It has the DPRS thing where you can go ahead and send your location, forward your location through the DV mode, and it'll automatically show up on the maps, so you can put your little house there, your mobile, whatever, and it'll take care of that for you. And it's very complex as far as you get to choose a lot of stuff. Depending on the type of thing or object you are, you can encode a lot of data into that kind of DPRS thing. Also with the GPS is a logger, so you can technically record your progress along a driving path or whatever, and then dump it into a mapping program later. It has an SD card, which is required for doing the audio recordings. Can't do it without them. So you can pop that in there, any size. It's right in the body, over in the corner over there. And and also I suggest formatting that inside of the 5100. It's always good to format it in the item that you're putting it in. So SD card, I'd say get an 8 gig or bigger. It's got the Bluetooth. I would like to have seen it come with a Bluetooth card for this price, but it is an option. They're going to make a little money off of you, but that opens up a world of wonderment. The Droid app already available allows you to remote control, have a map in front of you and just touch a repeater and automatically program the stuff in. It's very versatile. You compare that with, say, a Bluetooth headset. You can have complete remote control operation of this baby and a nice pathway for people out there to develop enhanced operating programs. So we can see that happening. The touch screen is excellent. Big, easy to operate, really solid and connective feel. So a lot of the little ones on video cameras, you're hunting and they don't quite take it and your finger's too big for it. No, your finger's the right size for this one. It works. It's okay because, you know, everybody has a little apprehension about that, but no, this one's good. It also has a QSO logger, and the QSO logger works in DV, and that'll just sort of record stuff in there to show you who you've talked to. Pretty cool. And it does have separate speakers and separate volume and controls for both band squelch controls. 2 outputs on the back over here, so it really sort of acts like 2 independent radios. I would have liked to have seen them put 2 full DV decoding stations in this baby. It would have cost $20 more for the chip in there, but instead they're doing a little audio trick where you can be listening on DV on both bands. Either one comes active, it mutes the other one. So it's just sort of an internal audio routing trick. It gives you the kind of functionality that you sort of do need, but ideally, it would be nice to have 2 DVs active at the same time, decoding at the same time. Rare in most people's cases. I don't live in an area where you could have that. So those are the unique features, and some of those really go deep, like the GPS. You can get yourself lost in that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Right now, this is really early in the game, so the FM database is not fully fleshed out. We're looking for that to happen, and probably there'll come a firmware revision coming from Icom at some point. They never put out anything really drastic, but minor fixes and maybe a couple of enhancements.
Self-addressed stamp and roll addressed as shown in QRZ or QST. It's a USS Midway Museum address here in San Diego. 73s and over.
Now let's do a test of receiver sensitivity by comparing the 5100 to a known very sensitive receiver, the 880H, which is really shown in the lab test to be a very hot receiver.
You know, I often thought after I retired that it might be fun to do a little work with the post office, because like you said, I understood the pay was not too bad for the work that you did, and I thought, I was just blown away, and all you can do is go up from that point on, and of course, I've lived in the areas here. When I lived in California, I lived about a quarter.
Well, I'm going to have to give it to the 880 by a nose there. Just a little bit more quieting, and of course it sounded like the 5100 had a little bit more treble in its audio, so that could be just a tonal response thing on the output audio amplifier. Who knows? Let's do a quick transmitter output power test just to find out if it's really in the ballpark. All right, let's take a look at our power output. Let's start with 450 with the old but trusty Daiwa meter into a dummy load. Here's low. A little over 5 watts, just about right on. Let's go to mid. Right at 15 watts out there. And let's go to high power. 45-ish, something like that. Now this meter could be off by that much easily. Let's take a look at 2 meters. We're on 652 simplex, 5 watts. All right, just shy of the mark. Let's go to medium power. Okay, just a touch shy of the mark. And let's go to high power and switch the meter. All right, just a hair less than 450. Looks like about 45 watts, 43 watts, something like that. But this meter could definitely be out by that much. The reason I'm going to show the RT System software for the 5100 is you need to get it. That's the reason. The Icom software provided certainly will work, and you can, of course, like I said, program the radio from the front panel. But what you really want is the RT System software. It's just thought out a whole heck of a lot better. Everything is laid out exactly the way you'd want it. And of course, if you're already a ID51 or 880 or 2820 user, you can sort of cut and paste, and there are even better ways than that, to move your stuff from those RT Systems databases to this new 5100 software. And of course, if you've got the cable from the previous one, you can use that as well, the USB adapter cable. There are two different varieties. I use the orange one, and it worked right off. I was able to cut and paste everything from the 51 talkie. I had to add a few different numbers, but comb it out a little bit and enhance it a little bit for this radio. Just took me 10 minutes, and bam, I had it written up. And now the radios are pretty much the same. So it's nice to have radios where everything's where you know it is. So like I said, thumbs up on the RT Systems software. That's the way to program this radio. Now, as far as the database of repeaters, of course, that's in here, as well as all of the other settings of the radio. But the DR database here now also includes the FM repeaters, and it comes pretty much filled out for the DV world when you get the radio. The FM part of it is not really filled out, and I expect there to be more information coming. A lot of guys typing out there and get that thing fleshed out. dstarinfo.com is the website to get some downloaded versions of this, and instructions are out there as well as to how to put this into the radio. There's just a couple of dozen FM repeaters in this thing now, so don't expect it to cover the ones near you unless you're in San Antonio or a couple of the other cities where they are covered. But as far as the DV world, pretty much got you covered in here. So let's just go through what would normally happen when you fire the radio up. This is what it looks like. Once you have your call on there, it will show it at the bottom. Shows you your voltage if you have it set up. And both bands come up over here. You can change the size of the display or actually go to a single display if you like, with huge letters and numbers. So normally I'd want to connect up with a reflector. I'm going to connect up with 30C over here just by keying up the radio. But I want to be sure that I am touching that band as my main band so it is functional. And I key it up, and then it'll come back.
Link to REF030 Charlie.
All right. And of course, as soon as you connect to your reflector or repeater, you want to go back to your neutral CQ position, which I have programmed every few memory slots in my D-Star memory bank. And now I'm ready to QSO on there. I don't want it to run high power because I'm just running locally. I'm going to hit the H there, go to low. Okay, I'm ready to go low. Now, the other side, I really don't want that running on DV, although they both are on and ready to receive in DV over here. But I want to do something else. So I'm going to hit scan, and I'm going to pick one of my banks to scan. I think I'll scan FRS GMRS. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I set it to scan on the main band. Let's go over to the subband over here, make that our main band while that's scanning, and go back to our CQ position, which I call hotspot. So now we're scanning FRS GMRS, and we are listening on our hotspot on 30 Charlie, and all is good with the world. It's, of course, set to work on your main band and sort of prioritize that and mute the other one to keep it out of your way if something's coming in on the main band. And that as well works in DV mode. Here's what the 5100 looks like when you have it in VFO mode here. Here's memory mode. So the display is quite large. Now let's take a look at the three submenu groupings over here, F1, 2, and 3. F1 is sort of your home base. That's where it boots up into. We're all familiar with this stuff, memory writing, scanning, monitoring. Go from VFO to memory. Your DTMF control, you can do that direct input like I was saying, which is nice. Your voice, and you can set that up from here and do your transmit from the voice memory. You got your power control over here, your GPS, so you can see the information, which is nice. Look at that. We're locked onto half a dozen satellites. 6 satellites, 564 feet. Our position over here shows you the standard mapping. Very nice. And F3 over here, your duplex control tones. If you want to hit immediately record something, you can hit this and it immediately goes into record, and hit it again and it immediately will stop. There also is a scope function where it scans across like so. For signals, you can do it multiple scans or one scan like that. Bam. Signal scan is what it's set for right now, and then back up to 1. So that's basically your menuing system at the top level, which is really easy to get to. Remember that most of the stuff you see on the screen is adjustable by touching it, like DV. I'm going to hit that and I've got my modes over here. So try to touch stuff like the power control. It doesn't look like you'd be able to touch that, but you are, and get right into the situation there. Again, what's really nice is these squelch indicators over here where it shows you exactly where it is. And of course, reference to the incoming signal, you can see that your squelch is right above a very low signal threshold like that, and especially on DV where we have no background noise. Let's go back in the menu over here and take a look at just some of the items you're going to come across. These are all standard things over here, and that's why this is so easy to operate. Repeater tone, offset, scroll down, your DTCS number codes. Pretty darn straightforward. You've got tone burst for that European stuff. A voice TX we've showed you. Memory management, memory channels, call channel. You can completely program or modify the database of memories in this thing via the front panel. And what's really nice is the memory grouping into the groups, because you have so many memories, you got to have them in groups. So basically what I do is just name them, and via the letter, A is Hot Springs amateur stuff, hams, and then I got my D-Star stuff. On the standard memories, these are good up to 100 memories in each group. On the DR repeater memories, it's unlimited. So I've got my public service, my business, FRS, GMRS in separate groups, air in a separate group. So it makes it really easy to pop around. And when I want to go to them, I just hit that quick button and hit bank select and then pick one of them. There's my D-Star. So I'm ready to go. GPS is really one of the most complicated areas of this radio, and not because it's complex to run, it's because there are so many features and things going on, and that's why this menu's got a lot of options. And it's important to know how to set it up when you want to do the DPRS. There's lots of information out there, but basically, let's go back up here. You go into GPS TX mode and you set it for NEMA, okay? And then you go to a website, as you can see on the screen here, I popped it up, and you get the GPS message to pop in here according to the data that you put into that website. So you get that straightened out, GPS sentence is set to GGA, and then you're ready to rock. You know, you normally might think it was DPRS, but it seems to be that you set it to NEMA there. Information shows you the satellites you're locked onto over here. I just turned the radio on, so we're in the process of locking up. The GPS does lock rather rapidly. I would say not the fastest I've seen, but not the slowest. And sensitivity is important. It seems to lock inside the house after a short period just fine. And I'm going to be using this as a base station, so that was sort of critical to me. This is the position window you'll see come up once it locks up, and you can look at your position and your grid square, which is really nice. But also, you can set it such when other people are transmitting, all of a sudden this box pops up in a smaller version, and you can see their information as far as location and such. You got your GPS memories. You can go ahead and memorize waypoints or positions, and it's got a whole bunch of other stuff you can do. The logger, as I mentioned, is one of the most important things, where it keeps a track of your position movement, say in the vehicle, and you can dump it into a mapping program later. And there's just that's one of the more complex areas of the whole radio. Scanning menus, pretty much standard. How much do you want it to hang on something? When to resume? Skipping things. These are all self-explanatory. We're not going to go through every feature and function. It would take me days here. But it is very important to get yourself set up immediately on your D-Star setup with getting your call sign in there, and that's one of the first things you do. Another recording function is a voice memo or QSO recorder over here. You can just record the QSO, and then it just goes to the SD card, and you can play them later. Now that's good if you want to record a net or something like that and sort of review it later. But sort of a handy function, and boy, you get a large SD card in there, and you can absolutely record many, many hours. Your RX history, that was for your D-Star. Of course, the data can be easily saved in here, and it'll show you what's been going on as far as your D-Star stations received. A lot of these are common to the older radios. There's your DTMF, your speed dial, and memories and that kind of thing. Really easy to set. So let's see, anything else we want to talk about over here? you do want to, go into My Station over here and set your call sign. That's really one of the first things you're going to do. And then if you want to put your name in the TX message, that's fine. Right now, the ID5100 is a hot radio, so I want everybody to know I'm running the 5100 in case they want to ask me about the radio. I might change it to my name later. You can put your QTH in there. It is limited in characters. DV set's another one over here, and one of the very important things on the 5100 is that we do have the tone control. This, which I'm so glad to see, was inherited from the ID51. And let's pop into it here. It not only has transmit equalization basically, but it has receive EQ too. So you can do RX and TX bass and treble controls, including an RX bass boost over there. So a lot of the guys are finding that having cut in both of the treble positions and the bass boosted on TX and RX seems to be what they like. I am going to go in and do a full analysis of the audio on this radio and the microphone and find out how to get the best audio out of this. So if you do want to see what I'm doing about that, you can check me out at 7000mic, that's mic.com, or the other address on the screen over here. And we'll see if I can maybe improve the audio of this radio a little bit. So in the DV set, you've got a couple other things over here. The menus go down quite a bit over here. And these are common to the ID51. We're not going to go through all these stuff. Remember that emergency setting, that's important too. That's where no matter what happens, everybody hears you, and it has to have a preset audio level and that kind of thing. So you can just, get a super emergency and it just blows through everything and lets everybody hear you. You got your functions in here. And that is really cool because we have the cross-band repeat. And like I said, it only works on analog, it seems. But we're going to take another look at that. You never know. Sometimes there's a configuration way to get around things. But you have a couple of different things in here. One important thing is the fan speed control. You may want to put that in auto so it just temperature senses, but you can also set it to fast, slow, and mid too. Dial speed up. This is stuff you can experiment. It's really personal preference, and nothing out of the ordinary in this menu. Let's take a look at the display. Opening message on. You can see the voltage of the power supply when the thing boots up. That's nice to know. And it speaks Japanese and English, system language. Contrast LED. You can just sort of mess with that. It just depends on sort of your viewing angle as far as where you want to put the contrast. I found that putting it down off the center position resulted in a better view for me straight onto the screen because I'm using it in the house here. So these are all just personal preference. Your SD card, like I said, do format it inside of the radio because it's always best to format in the device you're using it in. The Bluetooth card was not available for my dealer the first day the radio was available, so I don't have the card in here. That's what it's going to look like, and I won't be able to give you a full tour of the very exciting remote Droid app functions, but we will talk a little bit about that. And of course, you set your time and the beepy boopy sound levels, this kind of stuff. Nothing too amazing there, and anything they couldn't figure out where to put, they put in others over here. So you can calibrate your touchscreen in case it goes out. Pop back up to the top and you're ready to rock. The quick menu is very useful because that is the stuff you use all the time. Number one is bank select. Absolutely. You don't want to have to go down to menus to get that first thing right there. Weather channel, pop it right in, So these are really good. And record start, it's nice to have there as well. And your DR mode, right over here, as soon as it has that. And as soon as we see the little blinking satellite stop blinking, that means that we are locked. Of course, it's going to take longer if I have a roof and a ceiling over me over here, but it's locked every time. So, and then it will be able to search your local repeaters there. I'm going to get out of DR mode. And normally, of course, what you do is set up all of your connections to the reflectors and repeaters that you like in your memories, and then you can just scroll through them and go right to them. With the DVAP and certain other ones, you don't have to actually unlink. You can just go ahead and link right up to where you're going, and then it'll verbally tell you you've gotten there. And luckily, this screen has a lot of real estate space on it. So unlike, say, the 880 or the 2820 with less characters on here, you can, I could spell out Norway. I don't have to abbreviate a lot of this stuff, which just makes it better and easier to read. So, and about every few memories, what you do is, of course, put in a neutral CQ memory, so when you connect, you come back. I call it hotspot. That's the one with CQ, CQ, CQ in my first slot. And that way you're in your neutral QSO position for D-Star. Now we're going to do a comparison of the transmit D-Star audio from the ID5100 against the ID51A talkie. We're going to use the same transmit tone settings, which is receive boost and bass on normal. We're going to closely couple the microphone element to this external speaker on an ID880H.
This is the ID5100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alpha Bravo 5 November and out.
And now we're going to do the ID51 Alpha Handy Talkie into the same receiver. And I'm going to go a little bit further away so we don't get any echo.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alpha Bravo 5 November on the ID51 Alpha and out.
So let's take a look at the voice recording function. I'm going to hit Menu and Voice TX and record. This is for transmitting your voice from a recorded thing. Oh, went too far there. We hit record and we hit one of the memories for record. T1 now. Okay, now let's check out our record level. We've got mic gain. Go over to that. We can adjust the gain. Looks like we're good. Let's hit record. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Alpha Bravo 5 November. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's take a listen.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Alpha Bravo 5 November. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, well, we were pretty far from the speaker there, but you heard it sounds good and clean. Piece of cake. We always have that nice back thing over there, so that's really convenient to go. You know, if you run a computer, you know how to operate this thing. Let's take a quick look at the Icom RS-MS1A app for Android devices. I'm using a Nexus 7 tablet, but it's geared towards telephones, and thus when you fire it up, it comes up in vertical mode here. And when I do a rotate or try to on here, it doesn't rotate to a horizontal aspect, so we'll just do it vertical here. This works off the Bluetooth connection, and my dealer did not have the Bluetooth accessory board in stock, so we're not going to be able to show you it functioning fully here. But our friends at Amateur Logic Television really went into that quite deeply. That's what they focused on in their first review, and so take a look at their video for more information. But this is done rather nicely, and you can see you have a ton of options over here. And this is really so much more than the radio can do. You can share pictures, you have text messaging, mapping. The mapping is rather interesting too. Now it's going to try to load the GPS coordinate from the radio, but since we are not connected to the radio, we'll just go ahead and take a look at the map. On the map, it'll actually show you the repeaters and such, and you can automatically touch them and connect with them. That is major cool. You've got your transceiver settings over here, and you can, like I said, share pictures up to a, pretty darn low resolution. I think the top resolution is 320, but still, if you had really pertinent information, some storm, tornado, flooding, it would bring across the information if you needed to send a small image. Of course, this is improvable on, I'm not sure whether Icom would do that, but certainly third parties can start writing apps, Droid apps, that will expand the functionality. And that's, like I said, I'd love to see where it tells you what repeater is coming up, when you're going to run out of the range that you're talking through, and which one you should switch to next. That's really something I'd love to see on this. Droid programmers. So there you go. A really full function right out of the box Droid app for the ID5100. So in conclusion, I'm going to talk about what I like about the radio and what I think can be improved. I'm not going to hold back if I think there can be improvements made. And luckily on a software-based, menu-driven radio, it's software revisions or improving a Droid application. I really like the touch screen. After all, I wish it was color, but even though it's black and white, it's big, so I don't have any fudge factor trying to hit the right button. Generally, you always hit the right button, easy to operate. The menuing system is laid out well. You can figure it out without the manual. That's what you want. If it's designed well, the manuals, you need it, but you don't need it as much. The receiver is good. You know, it's always a balance between sensitivity and selectivity and ability to reject interfering signals and all this stuff, and it really does strike a really good balance as far as those two aspects. The transmit sounds good. Luckily, it inherited the transmit design from the 51 Alpha. They sound similar, certainly in the same ballpark, and certainly a heck of a lot better than the 880 and 2820. I'm going to work on it and see if I can improve it a little bit. We'll see what happens there as far as the microphone and coupling, things like that, so stay tuned. The SD card, like that. You know, you can put any size you want in there and record a bunch of audio on it. The Droid application, that is sort of revolutionary, and that's what certainly sets this radio apart. That can be improved as well, and the first one out of the box from Icom is very full-featured. It's not just a real simple thing like you have, see on the camera I'm shooting here, you know, cutting-edge Sony. The Droid application is extremely simple. The Icom application is not. It's very full-featured and well done. I like the crossband repeat. Not a feature you see every time on a radio, but you want to use that a lot of times, and it really makes the radio so much more useful. What I don't like, what I think could be improved, I would have put a color screen on there like I mentioned. I'm sure they had to order this screen special, because think of how many devices you have that have black and white LCD screens. I don't have any that I can think of, maybe a MPEG-3 player from the dollar store or something, but I'm sure they had to order this in quantity to get what they wanted, because color touch screens of that size are available off the shelf in the Orient and used in many devices. So I would have gone with color on this, but I'm sure they said, well, we can keep the price down, functionality's still there. Color does offer more information, and I'm not sure why they went back with the 7100 and 5100 to black and white. They should have sprung for the second DV decoder chip in this radio at this price class. From the advertisements, the way you look at the specs, you expect that you're going to be able to receive two D-Star signals simultaneously on two different bands, or the same band on both sides of the radio. From what I see, you are not. It does decode the digital information stream, so you see the guy's calls on the other stream, but I don't see any option to unmute the other side and be actually listening to two D-Star signals. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong on that, but from the way I tested and showed you, that's what I'm seeing. There is no data port on this, and I am shocked. I wanted to use this radio as a base, hotspot when I'm out in the car, and then use it as my home DV set, D-Star set while I'm at the house. I fully expected to be able to plug in my DVAP for local, or the DVR PTR board, and be able to go ahead and run around town using this. So, and I'm going to have to buy another radio to do that, because even some of my other ones that have the data ports that are a little bit older don't really transmit a nice linear 9600 baud signal. No mounting bracket. That's not right. My 880 came with one. What they say, over $100 if you want to get the few pieces you need for that kind of thing. Now you got to include that with a radio. You can't really pinch us. Japan, China is going to eat your lunch. Keep looking over your shoulder. So you're going to have to go ahead and offer as much as you possibly can at the value point for us users out here, because China's got a plan, and that's to put you out of business. So keep moving forward and try to give us the best value you can, especially on a $2 piece of plastic that you can throw in the box with it over there. No Bluetooth board supplied. A Bluetooth chip is 39 cents or $1 or something like that in the Orient, and the board to put it on another $1 or $2. Really, it should have been included at this price point. Many devices that have that capability come with it built in. There's no reason not to, other than to get us to spend more money. And that's fine. I'll buy one eventually, or maybe I won't. It's well over $100, and we'll take a look at that. So in final conclusion, I think it's a novel radio. The Droid app is what really makes it interesting, fun, and expandable. It does perform well. All the basic features we come to expect are in there, plus some really novel DV features. There is nothing that compares with it, certainly, so they're sort of in a league of their own. And I do give it 2 thumbs up, and I did buy it, and I will keep it, and I think it's going to perform well for me. And I am most pleased that the audio transmix section is good, because I'm an audio guy with my microphone business at 7000mic.com, and I'm going to make this one sound better too, so stay tuned, like I said. Well, there you go, another Not short, but I hope well worth watching review here from Bob, AB5N. Take care. See you next time.